understands, conceives, affirms, denies, wills, imagines, and feels. For feeling, as it occurs in dreams, is a form of thinking. Since thought is the essence of mind, the mind must always think, even during deep sleep. Descartes now resumes the question of our knowledge of bodies. He takes as an example a piece of wax from the honeycomb. Certain things are apparent to the senses. It tastes of honey, it smells of flowers, it has a certain sensible colour, size and shape. It is hard and cold, and if struck it emits a sound. But if you put it near the fire, these qualities change, although the wax persists. Therefore, what appeared to the senses was not the wax itself. The wax itself is constituted by extension, flexibility, and motion, which are understood by the mind, not by the imagination. The thing that is the wax cannot itself be sensible, since it is equally involved in all the appearances of the wax to the various senses. The perception of the wax is not a vision or touch or imagination, but an inspection of the mind. I do not see the wax any more than I see men in the street or I see hats and coats. I understand by the sole power of judgment, which resides in my mind, what I thought I saw with my eyes. Knowledge by the senses is confused and shared with animals. But now I have stripped the wax of its clothes and mentally perceive it naked. From my sensibly seeing the wax, my own existence follows with certainty, but not that of the wax. Knowledge of external things must be by the mind, not by the senses.
2 days.
This leads to a consideration of different kinds of ideas. The commonest of errors, Descartes says, is to think that my ideas are like outside things. The word idea includes sense perceptions, as used by Descartes. Ideas seem to be of three sorts. 1, those that are innate. 2, those that are foreign and come from without. 3, those that are invented by me. The second kind of ideas we naturally suppose are like outside objects. We suppose this partly because nature teaches us to think so, partly because such ideas come independently of the will, that is, through sensation, and it therefore seems reasonable to suppose that a foreign thing imprints its likeness on me. But are these good reasons? When I speak of being taught by nature in this
And he's
connection, I only mean
listening to
that I have a certain
Bertrand Russell
inclination to believe
while
it,
he
not
makes
that I
his
see
kite.
it by a natural light. What is seen by a natural light cannot be denied, but a mere inclination may be towards what is false. And as for ideas of sense being involuntary, that is no argument, for dreams are involuntary although they come from within. The reasons for supposing that ideas of sense come from without are therefore inconclusive. Moreover, there are sometimes two different ideas of the same external object. For example, the sun as it appears to the senses, and the sun in which the astronomers believe. These cannot both be like the sun, and reason shows that the one which comes directly from experience must be the less likely of the two. But these considerations have not disposed of the skeptical arguments which threw doubt on the existence of the external world. This can only be done by first proving the existence of God. Descartes' proofs of the existence of God are not very original.
Garbage
In the main, they
bag
come from
pieces.
scholastic philosophy. They were better stated by Leibniz, and I will omit consideration of them until we come to him.
What?
When God's existence has been proved, the rest proceeds easily. Since God is good, he will not act like the
He's
deceitful
cutting
demon whom
garbage
Descartes
bag
imagined as a
pieces
of doubt.
to put on his
Now God
Death
has
Star.
given me such a strong inclination to believe in bodies that he would be deceitful if
Any
there were none.
sashimi
Therefore,
right now?
bodies exist. He must, moreover,
He's
have
about
given me
to
the
get his
faculty of
ass
correcting
beat.
errors. I use this faculty when I employ the principle that what is clear and distinct is true. This enables me to know mathematics and physics also, if I remember that I must know the truth about bodies by the mind alone, not by the mind and body jointly. The constructive part of Descartes' theory of knowledge is much less interesting than the earlier destructive part. It uses all sorts of scholastic maxims, such as that an effect can never have more perfection than its cause, which have somehow escaped the initial critical scrutiny. No reason is given for accepting these maxims, although they are certainly less self-evident than one's own existence, which is proved with a flourish of trumpets. Plato's Theaetetus, St. Augustine, and St. Thomas contain most of what is affirmative in the Meditations. The method of critical doubt, though Descartes himself applied it only half-heartedly, was of great philosophic importance. It is clear, as a matter of logic, that it can only yield positive results if skepticism is to stop somewhere. If there is to be both logical and empirical knowledge, there must be two kinds of stopping points: indubitable facts and indubitable principles of inference. Descartes' indubitable facts are his own thoughts, using thought in the widest possible sense. I think is his ultimate premise. Here the word I is really illegitimate. He ought to state his ultimate premise in the form, there are thoughts. The word I is grammatically convenient, but does not describe a datum. When he goes on to say, I am a thing which thinks, he is already using uncritically the apparatus of categories handed down by scholasticism. He nowhere proves that thoughts need a thinker, nor is there reason to believe this except in a grammatical sense. The decision, however, to regard thoughts rather than external objects as the prime empirical certainties was very important, and had a profound effect on all subsequent philosophy. In two other respects, the philosophy of Descartes was important. First, it brought to completion, or very nearly to completion, the dualism of mind and matter which began with Plato and was developed largely for religious reasons by Christian philosophers. Ignoring the curious transactions in the pineal gland which were dropped by the followers of Descartes, the Cartesian system presents two parallel but independent worlds, that of mind and that of matter, each of which can be studied without reference to the other. That the mind does not move the body